Hello! The module I chose to discuss this week is the Comparing Universal Backwards Design, the Inquiry Design Model, and Problem-Based Learning module. From the beginning of my executive branch unit, I knew what certain things I wanted my students to walk away knowing about the executive branch. By using backwards design, I realized I wanted students to know about presidential powers, the vice president, the cabinet, and impeachment. By knowing this, I was able to break down the units into specific lessons. I knew that at the end of the unit, I'll assign part of their final project. For their midterm, students had to create a country including governmental parts needed for a country to sufficiently run. Students needed to develop a constitution, a type of government, and an election system for their midterm. They also had to make a flag, name their country, and name the population. For the remainder of the semester, I'll assign different aspects of the final project as we complete a unit. For example, at the end of this unit, I will assign an excerpt of their final project dealing with the executive branch of their country, and then I know that next I'll teach the legislative and judicial branches, and after those segments, I will want to assign those parts of the final project. This country project also falls into problem-based learning. I believe that projects are a much better way of judging students' progress than tests. Tests are essential as well, and I have given 3 quizzes so far, but I can see more of the students in their projects. Assigning creative projects really allows students' personalities to shine and for them to be successful. In each midterm, students were so creative. I was shocked at how many cool countries they came up with. One group of students had overlapping countries based on the sun, and their histories were intertwined, and they overtook one another. Another did a country based on March Madness. Another did one based on Frozen and Black Panther. Another student did a whole dog-paced country. So I was really impressed with what they came up with. Students chose different types of democracies, theocracies, monarchies, dictatorships, and oligarchies to explain their country. Also, most students chose to do a popular vote instead of an electoral college vote in their country. Assigning this project is like giving students a problem to solve. They can create any type of country they want, but they need to be able to prove that it can be successful. They need to solve what their constitution will look like, what their government structure will look like, and what their election will look like. One video in the module called Establishing Real-World Connections and Projects is so important when assigning projects. I really want these students to know what government is and why it's important in their everyday lives, especially outside of school. Many of them are already 18, and the rest of them will be 18 pretty soon, and they can already start using their civic duty. My students will have graduated from high school in a month and will be like real citizens and need to understand the government and need to understand what their civic duty is. The first key the video says in problem-based learning is establishing real-world connections and projects. Even though in their midterm students made up a country, so it's not super real world, they had to think about real governments to connect to their own country too. Like they took ideas from other governments to create their own